now recording. Dude, I hit that now recording every time.
You always hit that now recording. Speaking of recording, what's up, little comers? It's Composting back at it again, the most German show online. And I am here today with my leader host and co-host, Joku.
So, I'm your Austrian co-host, here for another episode of Thy Compostheim with Wiener Schnitzel
And sausage.
and beer.
There's only one beer left. Rapper's screaming all up.
White people, when they hear one beer, God, you are literally just a stereotype of that.
For the intro.
No, I don't think I will.
No, I think it's already playing.
Shut the fuck up, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. You're wrong. I'm right.
No, it's still going.
This one's crazy.
Yeah, this intro's pretty cool. Can you make this special guest the entire country of Germany and Austria?
Alright.
I think it's
Welcome.
Today
Welcome.
tonight we watched
I picked a movie. That I wanted to show Rosa because they have not seen any Michael Haneke, and I wanted to kind of ease them in, to show them, because they're one of my favorite directors.
They're fantastic.
They have some amazing movies that I would highly recommend. But I eased you in with probably their biggest film, Funny Games. This is
1997, and
let me finish. This is the most notable film by Michael Haneke. So I wanted to throw you a little bit of a sprinkle in there. Not go descend into the depths of his work, but
of his holes, his Michael Haneke holes. Fred's mom was also in Holes, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, we'll get to Fred's mom later, but let's just start off with general opinions. What was your opinion on this movie?
About 1997's.
Yes, the original.
Because we watched both 1997's Funny Games.
Both 1997s.
And the 2007, I believe.
Yeah. It's 2007.
The 2007 American remake. And I enjoyed both of them thoroughly.
We'll get to the American remake in a little, but let's just start off with the first one.
First off, I was very intrigued by Michael Haneke's distinctive directorial style, his use of very long shots where other editors might cut and switch camera angles. He just keeps the camera rolling and he moves that thing around.
Yeah, the cinematography is so dynamic, and everything that happens around is dynamic. The characters are always moving. It's never... What's the words I'm looking for? There is never really a usual shot reverse shot composition that you'll see. Something dynamic is always happening, and it always feels like there's always something visually to look at, and that is happening for you.
It reminded me of Kubrick, where when I watched the film, it's sort of like every single detail is so intricately placed and perfect, to the point that I almost feel bad for the actors, because it took like 600 takes for each shot in this movie, and it's to its benefit. I was very blown away by his visual style. Would you like to give a little plot synopsis of the film?
Yeah, so I'm gonna do both because guess what?
They're the
Both
same.
follow the same storyline and are basically the same, but we'll explain.
We'll explain.
About that later. But first, um, so basically, we have a average family, parents, child, and they're going on a little vacation to their little vacation house. And there are these two guys who are a little nefarious.
Couple of impractical jokers, if you ask me.
True. And they do some it's a home intrusion movie, and they have some fun games that they have prepared for their capturees to play on them. And that's basically it. It's a pretty simple plot comparatively on but the details that happens are what make the movie interesting, and what games that they play.
Yeah, you can
the
tell
interactions that they have with these characters.
So it starts out with the first time we really meet these two little goofballs. Paul, one of the goofballs, asks the matriarch of the household, what's her name again? Eve? Anne. My mistake.
I also think you got your name wrong. I think it's Peter.
Because
I believe yeah, it's Peter who goes inside of the house to retrieve eggs. Paul is with the dad in the first by the gate, the very first, and then Peter comes in with the eggs.
And they start just fucking with this poor woman. They ask her for 4 eggs. She's very nice and says, "Oh, of course you can have 4 eggs. Do you want them in a carton?" He's like, "Nah, I don't need them wrapped or in a carton." And then he drops the eggs like an idiot. And then he's awkward. Then he makes her cell phone go into the sink. Is cringe. And then he weasels his way into getting 4 more eggs. Then he drops the eggs again because the dog scares him. I mean, it's a German Shepherd from Germany. I'd be really scared too. And they end up just breaking this poor woman. Essentially, they're by just prodding in all of these little innocuous ways. That's quite fun. The Paul and Peter are little killer psychopaths. They're like comic book villains, and it's like comic book villains being placed alongside a real life family.
Yeah.
Who react very realistically. These characters feel very real, like George the husband. Like, you know everything that you need to know about him about 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
They end up getting into a argument with the woman after killing her dog. No one's the wiser of that. For now. And they end up having to get thrown out by her husband, George.
They don't know the dog's dead yet.
They don't know the dog's dead yet. Who slaps Paul or Peter. I think it was Paul that got slapped.
Paul got slapped.
And then Peter hits Paul with a golf club in the kneecap.
It was above the knee. It was the thigh. So that's where he was bleeding from.
You're like PolitiFact. I'm like Donald Trump. I'm just spitting facts, and you want to bring me down. Yep. And then the games begin. The funny games. begin, and they just start fucking with these poor people and ending up killing all of them. With the point of this movie, it constantly runs up to the fourth wall in the most effective way I've seen from any horror film.
Each game has a fourth wall break. Some aren't very huge or have a lot of depth behind them with what they are presenting with their fourth wall break. Like the first one is him just turning to the camera and giving a wink.
He does a little Jim.
Yeah, he does an office stare. But as the movie goes, the fourth wall breaks are more in line of mentioning how you want to see them survive. We're here to bring entertainment and such like that. Fourth wall breaks.
The central commentary, the thesis of this film is that violence within the medium of film is real insofar as we really see it.
I don't think it's just within film. I think it's within
media holistically. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's real violence insofar as it is a real experience of the viewer, and the viewer is complicit within the violent happenings found in media, and it drives this very interesting philosophical notion home in a very interesting fashion through its fantastic use of the fourth wall that I found quite refreshing, particularly coming off of the Deadpool trilogy, which that and Rick and Morty I would cite as like the two worst uses of the fourth wall within contemporary media.
I think the first Deadpool was fine. I don't think it's like... I think it's fine. It's nothing groundbreaking or necessarily like that deep in a sense, if you catch my drift. But I don't think it's like necessarily awful. Rick and Morty's can feel just not
grating.
Great. Yeah, it can feel degrading.
I don't think that the first Deadpool film's use of the fourth wall was as grating.
Yeah, I'm saying it's very fine. I don't think it's...
Yeah,
I don't think it's awful.
I would agree with
but
that.
It pales in comparison to the use of fourth wall and what can be achieved with it.
The sheer suffering that can be achieved when you have horrible writing teams who manage to be racist, pedophile, sexual harassers all in the span of one text message. Did you see his texts?
Who?
The creator of Rick and Morty, what's his name? Roland?
Oh, Justin Roland? That's like one of the co-creators, though. That's not all of them.
Well, yeah, whatever. He was being a pedophile, and he
Yeah, this is like ancient.
He did a really weird Asian, like racist Asian accent in order to hit on a child. Okay, I just got Jim stared. Much like in hit film.
What happened in our last episode?
Okay, now they're Jim staring me again. What
was
happened?
The name of the episode?
Our Chinese episode. This is our German episode. See, if I do... The reason I did that, I think it was quite clever. It was so... The Chinese episode feels less racist. Like...
Yeah, at least we weren't hitting on a child.
Yeah.
Is that the point you're getting at?
No, I'm saying I made this one the German episode, so that way they think, oh, they're just doing different countries, and not, oh, they're being racist towards Asian people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite clever.
I think you were just like...
Did I say all of that out loud? Never mind. No, I'm not clever anymore.
Yeah, I don't even count this as the German episode. This is like faux German episode.
It's the Austrian American.
No, I don't count that. I feel like certain episodes need to be special. Like, I'm gonna be real, I don't consider the last one as the Chinese special.
I don't
Chinese
either.
I think there are specific episodes that we will do in the future that will be specific.
No, I agree.
Episodes.
It's just every episode I open up with the most adjective podcast online.
Yeah, I know. I'm the co-host,
and I'm off my pills, so it's been tricky to come up with creative adjectives other in countries.
Back to the movie. Do we want to talk about? Let's go with what our favorite game was.
Sure.
Let's do that.
You can tell that the Saw series of films was inspired by this, at least in some capacity. Just much worse.
How so? I don't think so.
Let's play a game.
I would say 7 and Cube is more inspiring to Saw.
Okay.
Than this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really think
No, I agree. Okay.
I don't think the filmmakers of Saw would have. I mean, it's possible.
Oh, wait, I forgot they don't watch movies.
No, it's just it would have been harder to know about, I would imagine, because this was this was an Austrian-German movie, and they made their Saw movie before the American remake came out.
Okay, well.
So I would imagine the domestic movies probably inspired them more because they would have probably seen them.
What was your favorite?
No, you go first. Because my favorite game is also my favorite part of the movie.
Okay. I would say that my favorite game is Kitten in a Bag, where they take the child, they put his head in a pillowcase, and then they make the poor mother strip down. It's quite disturbing, quite tense. I would say that they do a fantastic job just making this family feel real and really making you relate to them at a deep emotional level with the absurd cruelty. The reactions to the absurd cruelty of their captors feel incredibly grounded, particularly in this scene. I would say is a strong example of it. Where to the captors, them keeping a child's head in a sack is just a secondary component of it, where these parents who are reacting like parents would are just incredibly scared for their child, but it's not something that the captors give much mind to. It's a very interesting scene that acts as a encapsulation of these characters' relation to one another holistically throughout the film, and the sort of dysphoric incompatibility between the comic book evil of these two characters and the very banal, average lives of our protagonists.
So my favorite part / game of Funny Games was that of the prayer reading scene where the wife has to recite a prayer backwards, and the reward is that she gets to choose the way of death for each family member, either that being by shotgun or knife, so they get to have a fast death or a slow death. And right I believe right as or right after she is reciting her prayer, she grabs the shotgun and she shoots Peter, which gives us the only on-screen death within this movie. And then immediately after, Peter grabs the universal remote from the movie Click and rewinds and it completely catches you off guard, and you are just not expecting that. And then we get to see the scene transpire again, but Peter catches her and prevents her from killing, or Paul prevents her from killing Peter. And I really like this scene because of the fact that you are rooting for her in the moment when she kills him. That it gives you that satisfaction that there might be a happy ending. But that is taken away from you immediately with the fact that Peter just rewinds. And I think there's a lot to that scene, and I think it's a very powerful scene, that you are actually rooting for murder within this film. And it really plays and toys with your emotions, just like how the captors of this family do with them.
I would say the ending is my favorite part of the movie. Where it's exposition via a conversation that they're having, the two captors, about the reality and fiction being real insofar as it is a genuine experience held by the reader. And I think it's a very good way of explaining the purpose of the art piece without sullying the experience in any capacity. I think that it, keeping the themes laid out by those two characters, keeping those themes in mind upon the second American viewing, it helped my my ability to engage with this movie at a deeper level. And I think that end scene leads to this film really benefiting from rewatch. How about you?
I like the end scene. I think it is really good, and it does add a lot of context for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think the shotgun scene is definitely my favorite. With what it plays with your emotions, and the fact that, like, after you see that scene, you're kind of, your brain goes to the conclusion of you're rooting for this character, and then it plays with your emotion, and it's just like it denies you
It
the
blue
satisfaction.
balls the crowd. Yeah.
What?
I said blue balls the crowd.
Yeah, it denies you the satisfaction of getting a happy ending, as they say.
Yeah, and following just like the typical plot structure of this sort of film.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that it acts as a really, really great satire on the home invasion genre and on horror holistically to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the black comedy elements of this film tremendously. Just the absurdity of the two antagonists continuously referring to each other as cartoon characters.
Or Tubby. Because one is like slightly chubby, I guess.
And in the American version, just not fat at all. Just like
maybe like 10 pounds heavier.
Yeah, maybe just, it looks like a skinny dude who had a big dinner the night before.
Got that big dinner, little big boned.
Yep, little big boned fella. Yeah, I enjoyed everything about these characters. The fact that they're continuously contradicting themselves with their backstories.
Yeah.
Just to drive home the point that it doesn't really matter for the plot of these movies to function, to drive home the point that we're just here to watch people suffer, and that we're complicit in that, and that
that's the entertainment.
Yeah, and that the audience doesn't want to engage with a horror film beyond just watching people suffer for its own sake. I think it was a very intelligent commentary. Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
Do you want to hear some fun trivia?
Welcome back to Joku's Fun Trivia Corner.
I live in a corner. I have the cobwebs. I'm like a little creature.
I make them live in the corner.
I like the corner.
They like the corner, except they can't leave. They've sort of grown accustomed to it.
I'm grown into the floor. I'm like Joe Swanson fused with their driveway in the season 2, episode 3 Family Guy episode, The Bomb.
Put up that picture on screen, thank you.
Put up a picture of Joe Swanson fighting a big rat and screaming, "Bring it on!"
Actually, let's play the whole clip.
Oh, there's Joe Swanson.
This is an awesome clip.
All right. Trivia time. Play a German sound effect, since we can't do the gong sound effect.
All of the German sound effects I can think of are not very fun. They don't miss.
We'll find a fun one. There's gotta be one fun one.
A train horn.
See, that one was funny.
Yeah.
All right. So, first little trivia fact for you. I'm gonna sprinkle these about.
Sorry.
I'm gonna say one.
Pox.
Yeah, I know. All right. So, did you know that the wife and the husband in the first one were an actual couple together? Until
no wonder they had such chemistry.
Until the husband died in 2000, I believe, 7.
Just like he died in the movie.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Let me check real quick. He
really
did
cool.
die in 2007.
And then they killed his American clone in honor of him.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
They had really great chemistry.
Yeah.
No.
The acting in all of these were really good.
Yeah, they're really great character pieces.
Yeah. Do you want to rank the first one?
Yeah. I'm thinking 12.5 out of 15 for 1997's Funny Games. How about you?
I'm gonna go with a 12.5 as well.
All right, this puts it at a clean
25.
25. Let me check. Are there any other 25s? Do we need to break any ties? One moment.
We never have this up. We're so bad.
Except I closed my...
Yeah, but we never have it up. Just so still.
I made a mistake. I made an oopsie.
Did you poop your pellets?
I made an oopsie doopsie.
What'd you do?
Like I was PewDiePie.
Yeah, what's wrong?
Okay, it is tied with Battle of Algiers.
I didn't watch this one.
You didn't watch this
one? So I'm gonna let you just choose.
I think Battle of Algiers was better.
Alright.
Okay. Alright, and we're moving on to 2007's
Funny Games.
Funny
the
Games.
American remake.
So,
which is exactly the same film.
To the point that was incredibly impressive. This is one of the most technically impressive remakes that I've ever seen. Because every single little detail of the original is the exact same. To the point that the golf ball rolls in the same way.
Yeah. The amount of detail that went into this film and the self-mimicry of one's own work is phenomenal.
It was some Kubrick level shit.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
And there was like some locational differences. I don't know if you noticed.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But apparently, trivia time, in both movies, the same house was used.
Yeah. Yeah, they couldn't have been as horrifyingly accurate as they were if it weren't the same house. Because when I tell you that every single detail is the exact same, I mean it, and I mean it's to a disturbing degree.
Yeah.
To the point that it's
was like you have like just the subtitles change, and like the audio is just different. That's like that's the degree of how different this is.
It was genuinely scary how the just constant deja vu of it being the exact same but slightly different.
I think it definitely hits an impact. It has a harder impact if you watch it back to back.
Yeah.
Maybe on a rewatch distance from oneself, it might not hit as hard.
Or it could hit harder. That deja vu aspect might be more effective.
Yeah, who's to say?
It was very unique. I struggle to think of any.
In our viewing, we watched it immediately after watching the first one, so that we definitely saw those elements at play.
First one's in German. This one is in English.
Yeah, and about that, did you know the first one was supposed to be in English? But because he wasn't able to, because of reasons, they just ended up doing it in German.
That's interesting. Also, John Zorn who's one of my favorite composers ever, behind the horrifically beautiful album Crystal Knot, and plenty of other projects, did some of the music for both of these films.
Yeah.
So
I forgot to touch upon the music in the first
one.
Or just in general, because there is a lack of music.
Yeah, there's a very effective. There's a dialectic invoked within the film's soundtrack.
Yeah.
Where the opera listened to by the family is juxtaposed with John Zorn's amalgam of black metal, jazz, hair metal, just noise, brutal music.
Hardcore.
There's this dialectic at play.
Yeah, I think the use of music within this film is also very interesting, because there is definitely a lack of it within the majority of the film. The only time that we get a lot of music is in the very beginning and at the very end. There is some music within the middle sections, notably in the when the little boy, little George, is scurrying away to the neighbor's house, and Paul puts the hardcore music on. And also some radio in the beginning.
I think it's a very good encapsulation of the central dialectic of the film between people who are very socially of the mainstream versus the antisocial antagonists of the film.
All right. Do you want to hear my final trivia for you?
Welcome back to Joku's final trivia roundup.
This might be the most shocking for you. But
surely not as shocking as girl finds out she's adopted. The ending of that movie will shock you.
Funny Games 27 or 207 is Michael Haneke's only film in English.
Huh.
Yeah.
It really the film, the fact that this is Michael Haneke's only remake
and only film in English.
And only
his
film in English.
His only one.
Is very, very intentional in terms of driving home the point's central thesis about sort of time being an Ouroboros.
Yeah.
And it fits very well, and it elevates the deeper messages of this film by having it be a remake. It's one of the most effective remakes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I struggle to think of a utilization of that format as unique as the one presented by Michael Haneke.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about the American version.
I think the mimicry and the juxtaposition of the original, and seeing it in a different setting, just slightly tweaked, but everything else being the same, it adds to the ambience of the film, and it adds more value for me. And I think that I actually prefer the 2007
I would agree.
over the original. And I still think both films are amazing.
Yeah, it requires the original as context. It's by no means a replacement. I think that these are projects to be viewed on equal terms and side by side. I view it as, in terms of the role it takes on, is closer to a sequel than to a pure remake, if that makes sense. Because it adds on to the original rather than merely rehashing the original, which is quite funny because it strictly, in material terms, it does just rehash the original. But in terms of the film's thesis, it's a elevation of the original's message to be viewed alongside the original.
Do you want to rank these?
Yep. I'm
I'll
thinking...
go first because you went first last time. I'm feeling 13. I
also had 13 written down. Brings it to a 26.
Dude, we gotta stop having the same score.
Yeah, we look like copycats.
But to be fair, like we can't really be called copycats because you went first and then I went, and then I went first this time and you went. So
yeah,
we didn't just do the same order.
It's tied with Under the Skin. I think Under the Skin's better. I've been known to glaze Glazer a few times in my day. I will admit to that. But I think that
what is above Glazer?
First Reformed and Dancer in the Dark are 26.5s. Or only 26s.
I think it's better than Under.
Oh, I've given you the past few tiebreakers, except I'm gonna stand my ground on this one. I think that Under the Skin has a lot. I think it. They're similar films. When I think about it, they're both horror films where the central thesis is how we as media consumers relate to art. I think that I don't know. Under the Skin, I just liked it more. I just liked it more, man.
I think there's a lot more personally that I get out of Funny Games than Under the Skin. And I think there's so much like with on a rewatch of funny games, I think you could get more than Under the Skin. And that's not to say that Under the Skin isn't as good. What?
Yeah. Why don't we do rock, paper, scissors? Rock.
Do you want to flip a coin? I feel like it's harder
flipping
to do.
a coin is more fair.
Here.
Because last time we did rock, paper, scissors, you cheated me. Heads or tails?
I'm just gonna do it on Google.
Oh, okay. Tails never fails, baby. I'm going tails.
Why am I forgetting?
Did you forget how to spell flip?
All right.
Yep. Tails never fails.
Tails.
All right. Yeah. I think with that, do you want to touch on Ralph Sepe Jr.'s Lover?
We recently watched a movie by a YouTuber named Ralph the Movie Maker.
Big inspiration.
Yeah. Along the lines with YMS, IHE, the OG.
The OGs.
The OG YouTube film critics.
I don't think we've ever shouted them out, but like we wouldn't be here if it weren't for Sardonicast and Jar Media. They're our biggest inspiration, hands down.
Yeah. Got that Jar Media t-shirt, bro.
Hell yeah. You buy that merch. Buy that merch. All I want for Christmas is a Logan Paul shirt. You better tell your mama that she gotta buy it all.
True. So we watched Ralph's 2018 feature, Lover.
Yep.
And we have some opinions. Would you like to start off?
Yeah. Lover is a film about a disturbed young YouTube movie critic who meets a beautiful woman named Delilah. And the film, the narrative structure is it's told through the narrative device of 4 seasons. Throughout the 4 seasons of a year, we see Ralph Sepe and Victoria. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Bedlon, Victoria Bedlon. Their relationship. They form a strong relationship, and they eventually sour towards each other, realizing that their relationship is built on lies, and they end up going down dark paths of self-destruction alongside each other, separately but in an intertwined fashion, culminating in Ralph the Movie Maker lighting up a fucking drug house.
Drug den.
Yeah. Ralph the Movie Maker rolls up to the trap house with a 9 and starts blasting.
Alright. Do you want to talk about your opinions on this movie?
Okay, first things first, the number one thing that you're going to notice visually about this film is that Ralph the Movie Maker rented a Mercedes-Benz for this movie. And I think that's pretty awesome.
I don't think so.
You think he owns? You think that Ralph's big pimpin'? Because he has a fast pass. He has an easy pass.
Yeah, I think that he owns that. And I'm gonna give Ralph his flowers because I do think he deserves them. Because making a feature film, I think, is really hard and it's really commendable. At 18, it's 18.
18, younger than us.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And it's really commendable, and you can see a lot of talent within this. After even just like part of being in film school for a little bit, when he was making this,
Yeah.
and having a budget of 10K, and being able to make this, because there's an episode of Sardonicast where they do talk about Ralph's movie, and he does share some of his experiences with this, and he shared that you don't really realize how fast the budget goes, because you have to be able to support your cast. If you need to, if you're filming at a certain location, you need to be able to have hotel rooms ready for them, and you're also the amount that goes into that.
Was this a union production, to your knowledge?
No, but I do know Ralph did mention that a lot of the actors were very supportive because they were also film students.
I assume so.
That they were more focused on making a movie and the end product than worrying about being paid as much, or like making sure that most of the budget went towards the movie and the art, rather than stuff that it didn't necessarily need to go to.
To give Ralph his flowers here, you can tell that was a passion project on the part of himself and his classmates. With this project, and you can tell that they're giving them this movie their all in a way that's commendable, even if it is amateurish at times. There are
it definitely is very
generally. There are moments in which Ralph's talent shines through. It's certainly much better than anything we could make.
Yeah, and I do appreciate it, and getting the context definitely did help me appreciate the movie more.
Yeah, because a lot of work goes into student films. A lot of work goes into films generally, and you can tell that he was very luckily given a sizable budget for a student film by his audience, and you can tell that he did give this movie his absolute all in terms of trying to make something that would live up to the expectations of his audience, which I do think were sort of unfair, because you do need to keep in mind that it is a student film, and the only reason that we put it next to these major motion pictures is because of his online presence, which I don't think is by any means equivalent to experience in filmmaking, quite obviously.
Yeah, but if that being said, if you're going online and critiquing any sort of media, and then you are throwing your hat in the ring,
you open yourself up to criticism.
Yeah, you're opening up yourself to criticism, and you should be expecting to receive the same criticism that you put out.
It's if Anthony Fantano came out with an amateurish album tomorrow, there would obviously be.
Yeah.
You're opening yourself up to
criticism.
But I know that Ralph's a guy who takes film critique seriously.
Yeah.
And he seems like a great guy who would take criticism of his own work on the cheek. And I mean, the only reason we're reviewing this movie is because we're fans of Ralph. We like Ralph. Ralph's one of our biggest inspirations. So I joked that the first thing that jumps out to you visually is the Mercedes-Benz. In reality, this entire film, despite being shot in color, having trailers in color, Ralph wasn't familiar with color coding, is my best guess. So he slapped a black and white filter.
He did mention that on the podcast where they do talk about it. but I lack I lack the memory to memorize what he said on the subject. So I can't really give my full details on that.
Yeah, my best guess is, given the fact that that the trailer was in color,
Uh,
but the film itself is not. I
uh
do.
Something that he did mention though was that the winter section of the movie was in black and white. And that whenever he was watching it on when he was doing it, like
Mhm.
editing it, he felt that like it was a bit jarring. Um, so he kind of liked it and kind of made it the whole movie.
Yeah.
That is what I've gathered from that.
hmm
But
Yeah. It might not
but
have been
but
my.
it does feel
It
in
felt.
watching it, yeah, it gives the sense of like film student.
Yeah,
Um,
which it
yeah,
is, and
yeah,
I think that he wears his influences on his sleeve with a lot of the shots that he goes for, and I
this
do.
movie is definitely inspired by Under the Skin.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt that, but I was definitely able to see that he was really inspired by that
Yeah.
movie. Um,
And inspired by a lot of Schrader's work, particularly
yeah,
Taxi Driver, in a lot of the driving scenes within the film. He does some one for ones
yeah,
with Schrader, and he wears those influences on his sleeve. And I respect a pinch and twist. I respect where he goes for there. And I will say, I will commend Ralph for the fact that he doesn't play it safe with this movie. He takes big swings. I would, although I might say that those are big, a lot of them are big misses. A few of them do hit. Um, like there are some moments that Ralph's ability to act does shine through, and there are moments where it's very apparent that Ralph has talent, and I'm glad that he didn't just stay in his comfort zone with with this film, and he wanted to make something challenging.
yeah. Um, yeah.
Um, yeah,
Big big props to Ralph.
yeah. And you can tell that he's trying his heart out with every
Yeah,
line delivery. The other actors, however, not as much. Um, and to be honest, I don't really blame them. It's not their passion project. They're film students, and they're working on a student film. A
yeah,
lot of the other, particularly the the drug kingpin and his cronies, a lot of that feels very very clocked in.
yeah.
Um, what was your favorite part of this movie?
Some of the comments that Ralph says to his girlfriend within the movie, where he's like just like he just like shit talks her.
Yeah.
At those were my favorite parts.
He's
I
not good at writing character dialogue. Um, and it's
Yeah,
very funny.
yeah, but I hope to see him improve because
Yeah.
Ralph did recently announce that he is coming out with a new short film. So I'm excited to see what progress Ralph has made
Yeah.
in his filmmaking career. And I'm happy to see that he's still able to be able to make more passion projects.
And I think going off of this film, he has a solid 20 minutes in him. I appreciate
Yeah,
they didn't play it safe. I appreciate they went for a feature, but it was he you can tell he bit off a little bit more than he can chew, but I'm
yeah,
very happy that he came out with a product
yeah,
on the other side, because it would have been very easy to just walk away from it.
yeah,
You know? Um but he stuck it through and he stood by his art in a way that I respect. My favorite part was when he shoots up the trap house. It is so funny. It's so funny.
I'm remembering the part where he puts the pieces of paper in his ears. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, as ear
Yeah. And like that just wouldn't work.
Yeah,
like when like for example, like I've tried this. When I was riding trains, I didn't have ear protection, and I tried putting wet paper in my ear, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's not ear protection. And a gun would still have the same effect. Maybe like a smidgen of it being dampened for you, but that does not work.
They would just fall out of your ears, because even with like 45 or a 9, it shakes you, you know?
Yeah. Well, you're supposed to wet your paper, and then you kind of just lodge it in. So
Yeah,
I don't think it would fall out.
He takes some newspaper out of his diaper, so it's sopping wet, and he shoves it in his ears. And he shoots up a trap house, and it's so funny because it has like Smosh level editing with the gunshots. It's like the Smosh green screen gunshot. And Ralph does not look like a cold-blooded killer. He looks like Ralph the movie maker.
Ralph is like such a sweet soul.
Yeah, he just looks like a guy I would make Latko with.
Yeah. Like he's just a lovable guy. I don't get murderer from him. But yeah.
He gives off like volunteers at a retirement home. But like I said, this movie doesn't play it safe. I do have to commend it for that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
You want to rank it?
Yeah. I am thinking.
Feeling us. We're gonna go with a 7.
I'm thinking a solid 4 for me.
That gives it a
11, and that means it is tied with Deadpool, if I'm not mistaken. I think that Deadpool is better.
I would put Deadpool above.
All right. Wait.
Do you want to talk about directors?
Oh yeah. We were talking about.
So while we were watching Funny Games, I asked Rosa a question, because Rosa told me that they added their 4 favorite films on Letterboxd, and that made me ask the question of what is their top 5 directors, because 4 films I find is pretty easy to come up with, but I think top 5 directors are a harder thing to be able to make a list out of and gauge.
Yeah,
so we're gonna talk about some of our favorite directors,
and we discovered that there's a big difference between best directors and favorite directors.
Well, I've come to this conclusion a while ago, but I was explaining my perspective on.
Yeah, and I agree.
When I asked the question to people, because I explained this to a lot of people when I asked them about their favorite, and what they consider the best, because those are 2 different things. Favorite I find is more personal to you and why you love something. And I think best is just an objective feeling that you have, concerning media.
Yeah, I think I narrowed down.
You narrowed?
By the way, before I say my 5 favorite directors, I'm going to say my 4 favorite films on Letterboxd, just because I'm sure that people would wonder. They're 12 Angry Men, Come and See, The Zone of Interest, and Clockwork Orange.
Yep.
but my 5 favorite directors would probably be Wes Anderson, Jonathan Glazer, Paul Schrader, Stanley Kubrick, and Ilham Kilimov.
So, some of my favorite directors. I'm not putting these in any order right now. I've never what?
I said mine weren't in any order either.
This is I haven't given enough forethought to put it in any order. So I'm just going to name some. I'm going to start with Michael Haneke. He is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Charlie Kaufman, Wes Anderson. I definitely think Stanley Kubrick is up there. And number 5. For now, I am going to put Hideaki Anno.
Godzilla, correct?
Shin Godzilla?
Yeah.
Shin Godzilla, that's what I'm saying. He did
okay.
Shin Godzilla. That's the only Godzilla.
Yeah, I knew.
But he did Evangelion.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the best directors, I think that the 5 best, in my opinion, would be Schrader still, Alfred Hitchcock, Sergei Einstein, Wes Anderson, Stanley Kubrick.
5 best directors definitely would be
Sergei
Stanley
Einstein.
Stanley Kubrick,
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino, Alfred Hitchcock, Steven Spielberg, Michael Bay.
Michael Bay.
Do you not get it?
Oh yeah, they were epic rap battles of history.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do the 5 best, but that's my order of ranked from the epic rap battles of history directors.
Yeah.
1
for all the people wondering at home.
Yeah, because I'm in a big like epic rap battles of history phase right now. Like I go through phases crazy. Like I was in that FNAF phase for like a week or 2.
You were in the Weird Al.
The Weird Al yank. We went from Weird Al to FNAF to now epic rap battles of history.
Yeah.
I'm excited for what's next.
I'm excited too. What if it's like crochet or something really dorky?
True.
That would be awesome. Cause then I might get
that'd be Sugoi.
I could get like a crochet do-rag out of it or something.
I think you're just projecting on what you want right now.
I want a crochet do-rag. And if any fans know how to crochet, I think a crochet do-rag would be really funny. Make it red for the Bloods. Actually, make it blue for the Crips, actually.
Make it yellow for the Pissers.
Make it white for the little comers.
Make it green for the little mucusies.
No, the Greens are my new gang that I invented.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on this journey with us. I'm Credit Card Fraud, and
I'm your Fortnite V-Bucks wallet.
And we're composting.
Ba-la-ba-ba-la-ba.
That was super next episode, we are watching Rosa's recommended movie with special guest. What's their name? Rowan Fennell. Rowan for now. We are watching Stanley Kubrick's Doctor Strange Love. Be there or be a square. Nerd!